Hi everyone, today we are reviewing a Conan story, The Black Colossus. Black Colossus is a classic sword and sorcery tale by Robert E. Howard that showcases Conan the Barbarian at a turning point in his rise from wandering adventurer to military commander. Originally published in 1933, the story blends high fantasy, ancient magic, and battlefield heroism in a gripping and fast-paced narrative. The story goes like this. Shevatas, a renowned thief from Zamora, stands at the ruins of Kuthchamis while crippled by fear. He's in search of a fabled treasure once owned by Thugra Kutan, an evil sorcerer who disappeared 3,000 years earlier. Suddenly, as Shevatas is prying the lock of an ancient tomb, a large serpent slithers into the ruins. Almost by chance, he manages to kill it with a venom on his sword that matches the snake's own. Having defeated this monster, Shevatas enters a vault full of treasure. He looks up at a dais of crystal, is transfixed in terror, then screams, presumably having been slain by an unknown magical power. Rumors spread throughout the kingdom of Karaja, recently devastated by the kidnapping of its prince in Ophir, of a desert sorcerer hailed as a prophet amongst the nomads, known as Natohk, the Veiled One, because he always wears a mask. Natohk appears to the young princess Yasmila as a shapeless shadow with blazing yellow eyes who he promises will be his queen, and states she would be unable to resist him in his bodily form. Natohk explains how he sleeps in the palace chamber of Akbatana, but his spirit has left his body. Upon his departure, a deeply shaken Yasmila confides in her maid, Vatisa, who tells her that she must seek the forgotten oracle of Mitra for protection. They go to a disused shrine within the palace housing a beautiful idol-like statue of Mitra. Yasmila's desire for help is answered by the disembodied but reassuring voice of Mitra. The god tells her to go outside on the streets and place your kingdom in the hands of the first man you meet. This turns out to be Conan, who at first takes Yasmila to be a street waif, until he whips off her cloak and catches sight of her expensive clothes. She leads Conan to the palace, and he assumes her to be a lady-in-waiting, but Vatisa reveals Yasmila's identity by greeting her as princess. A startled Conan suspects a trap, but he is placated when Yasmila mentions the oracle. Yasmila and Conan discuss the military state of the kingdom. Although the mercenaries are loyal as long as they are paid, the regular soldiers fear Karaja is a doomed kingdom, either by the military might of neighbor Koth or the supernatural tales of Natohk. As long as the country of Ophir holds Yasmila's brother, the rightful king, as a captive, things are precarious in Karaja. As Mitra ordered, Yasmila appoints Conan commander of the Karajan army, much to the horror of Count Thespides, Chancellor Taurus, and General Amalric. Ultimately, and with the blessings of the Aga Shupras, her counselors reluctantly agree to serve under him. In a moment of foreshadowing, Amalric exclaims how I have seen kings who wore their harness less regally than you upon seeing Conan in full-plate armor. The mighty Karajan army, bolstered by Amalric's multinational 3,000-strong mercenary force, sets off to meet Natohk, the princess riding with them. Yasmila seeks shelter in Conan's tent from Natohk's visitations, woken the next day by a conversation between her commander and a frantic Shemite thief from Shumir. He relates the tale of Shevatas's death in the treasure chamber. His tale of Natohk's unearthly power is so terrifying that Yasmila faints as the thief reveals a gold coin which he says is stamped with the true face of the veiled Natohk, a coin forged 3,000 years ago. Conan's army heads for the well of Altaku, where Natohk's horde is said to be camped. On their commander's orders, the Karajan army halts at the pass of Shamla, held by the Zahimi tribe, who join Conan's troops. Conan arranges his forces into battle formation, soon after which a mysterious fog engulfs the area. The sound of a large body of men thunders through the fog, which suddenly lifts to reveal the huge army of Natohk. Count Thespides ignores Conan's suspicion over the apparently disorganized enemy, choosing instead to charge headlong at the enemy lines. This turned out to be a trap, as the horsemen are all burned to death by magic in the midst of their headlong rush. This almost routs the rest of Conan's army, but he maintains order by angrily smashing a would-be deserter in the face with a beef bone. Shupras's mounted archers slaughter thousands with their arrows, but Natohk's troops remain unfazed, perhaps due to mystically enhanced bravery. Despite the continuing onslaught by the archers, their opponents rush on like madmen, ignoring even boulders thrown at them along the way. Conan leads a force of hillmen into battle, catching his foes in a pincer movement, having sent a Zahimi guide to lead Amalric's cavalry round the western ridge in order to descend upon their enemy from the rear. Though Conan's forces overall had suffered heavy losses, this move routs Natohk's army. The mighty Prince Kutamun of Stygia meets Conan for single combat and almost overcomes him, but Conan eventually manages to stab him into submission. It seems that Natohk's forces have been defeated, but Natohk himself is still fighting. His chariot, driven by an ape-like demon and pulled by camel-like creature, rushes forward to kidnap Yasmela. However, the demon betrays Natohk, throwing him and Yasmela from the chariot before flying off to freedom. Natohk runs into the nearby ruins where he is confronted by Conan. Here he reveals that he is Thugra Khotan, risen again. Natohk is Khotan, backwards by the way. He attempts to defeat Conan first by throwing a snake at him, then a scorpion. However, before he can loose the second creature, Conan throws a sword through his heart. With Natohk lying dead, Yasmela demands what she wants from Conan. Affairs of state and consequences be damned as she falls into Conan's loving arms. The story was adapted in comics form by Roy Thomas, John Buscema, and Alfredo Alcala in 1974 in the black and white Marvel Comics magazine Savage Sword of Conan issue 2. The Savage Sword Comics adaptation was reprinted in full color in the large-sized Marvel Treasury Edition issue 15 in 1977. Then in 2008, the Marvel adaptation was reprinted in black and white in the Savage Sword of Conan trade paperback, published by Dark Horse. In 2009, Timothy Truman and Thomas Giorello adapted the story in Dark Horse Comics' Conan the Cimmerian issue 8-13. The story has also been adapted by publishing company Ablaze in their Cimmerian series of comics. In conclusion, Black Colossus presents a gripping tale of divine destiny, ancient evil, and heroic triumph. Through a divine command, Conan rises from mercenary to military leader, entrusted with the defense of a fragile kingdom against a resurrected sorcerer bent on conquest. Despite overwhelming odds, Conan emerges victorious, both as a warrior and as a symbol of unexpected salvation for the kingdom of Karaja.